Conversations with Iris. Here's your host, my loving wife, Iris.
Hola, mi gente bonita. Hello, beautiful people. And welcome back to Conversations with Iris, the little podcast that could. This is the space where we sit down with extraordinary people who are doing meaningful work around the world. People who are willing to speak about honesty, about their journeys, their experiences, and all the moments that basically shaped them, things that shaped everyone, which is truly amazing. Around here, we believe in stories matter. Yes, we do. Fridays are fun days. Thank you so much for streaming me, downloading, and sharing this episode. I feel like these conversations just sometimes they challenge us. Sometimes we need to feel inspired. And sometimes they help us just see parts of ourselves we didn't even realize that were there. And let me tell you guys something. Today's guest is someone who truly embodies that idea. I love this story because his story is powerful, deeply human, and I feel like it's filled with moments of just of that a little bit of that resilience that we all need, reflection and growth. And it's that kind of conversation that just reminds us how storytelling could help us understand not only where we've been, but who are we becoming. So let that sink in for a moment. Think about that. So settle in wherever you are listening because today we're going to be diving into a story about, as I mentioned, but it's about survival, identity, healing, and that courage it takes for us to rewrite our own narrative, our own life, which is truly amazing. So today I'm honored to welcome Johnzelle Anderson. Johnzelle is a licensed therapy, a storyteller, and the author of the powerful memoir, Mixtape, a Memoir. I love the way that sounds. His book is a raw, just truly like a lyrical story about that resilience, identity, and healing told just not through traditional chapters, but through tracks, much like a mixtape, which I'm all for. This is an R&B hip hop kind of girl, so I love the way that sound. Each piece of his life is connected to music, memory, and the moments that just shape who we really are. Growing up in a mixed race 1990s Roanoke, Virginia, Johnzelle navigated childhood abuse, racism, identity struggles, and the complexities of family, which, all of us have in there. And while holding onto the love of his grandmother and the inner voice of promise for a better future. I love how his story is just truly honest, is vulnerable, and sometimes even humorous, which I love. I love the mixtape aspect of it. It's amazing. But above all, it is a story about survival, healing, and reclaiming your own narrative, as I mentioned. So today we're going to be talking about all those great things. And without further ado, please help me welcome Johnzelle Anderson. Welcome and bienvenidos.
Hello, thank you for having me, Iris.
Of course, of course. I just have to say that is amazing. How was that growing up in Roanoke?
Growing up in Roanoke, I lived there for the first like 22 years of my life, so I didn't know anything else. Um, and so I thought it was a big city until I went to a bigger city, and yeah, it feels like a small town to me now. But growing up in Virginia, it's kind of a hub of a lot of history, both, progressive and not so great. And then growing up, mixed race in a space that is considered the South and, seeing the remnants of those historical, implications. So, yeah, it was enough to write a book about. So, yeah.
Wow. I love that. I love that. And when people hear the word memoir, they sometimes imagine a neatly packaged life story. Let's be honest, right? They do.
Mhm.
But your book, Mixtape, a Memoir, I love that. It's raw, it's sincere. I just love that. I feel like it opens up the door to something much deeper. You mentioned identity, family, and finding your place in world. So let me just start there because when you look back at your younger self, what stands out as that first moment you realize like, wow, life might be more complicated than you expected?
Yeah, my formative years were uh, pretty dynamic. Some, I mean, you know, as being a therapist, I've been a therapist over a decade now. I've shared like little anecdotes with clients throughout the years and stuff. And some of the stuff I'll just like give an example about. They're like, oh my God, you need to write a book. Cause like some of the stuff sounds like it's out of a movie, but, you know, there was a part where it was like, I don't know. I think it was always in me,
Yeah.
but there is and I don't want to necessarily call it resilience, but there is something beyond me, whether that is spirit, whether that's ancestors, whether that's God, whether it's magic, I don't know, that reminded me that even when the stuff was not making sense, that I was going to be okay. And um, what I can say, spoiler to anyone reading the book, is that I ended up being okay.
Yeah.
So that small voice, that spark, that whatever it was right.
And I like that. I mean, what were some of the earliest moments that, you start questioning that identity? I mean, the belonging and where you stood the world. Like, where were you standing at that moment?
My experiences with identity and belonging were complicated because I'm the product of a white lady from Michigan and a West African Sierra Leonean immigrant. And the father wasn't around, but when you mix black and white, you get black, brown. So if the father's not around, I am a brown child being raised by whiteness. And so I look differently. So identity wise, it's clear that there's something going on here. And then you interact with a world that will tell you what you are. Hence the double meaning of the word mixtape is obviously I base it around a playlist, which is available at the front of the book. There's a QR code, and I make it very clear the format of this book through when you read it, you'll see. But the word mixtape, the first four letters is MIXT, mixed, which is not the correct spelling of mixed as in mixed race, but
Nice.
the word is there. And so people are like, well, you're mixed, or what are you? Or what are you mixed with? You act white, or you ain't black enough, or, you're too black to be, the definition of everyone else's opinions on it before I can even make sense of who I am, and I get to come of age just like everyone else is, right? But
Yeah.
I guess to answer the question, my earliest memories, unfortunately, my first racists were my white caregivers.
Wow.
And so, I had a half brother that I grew up with who also had a black father, but his father was African American. My father was straight from Sierra Leone. So, there was a different treatment of because both fathers were not that involved, but mine was a African. So there was all sorts of, ape references and making fun of his accent and othering of blackness from the continent. And, you know, um, whether he was a good guy or not, I wasn't really given a chance to make an opinion about who he was for myself because there was such indoctrination or, that venomous kind of portrayal. So I had no choice other than to be scared of this man.
Oh,
In addition to the fact that he didn't try very hard. But so my identity was complex from the beginning because I'm black, but I'm being told I'm mixed, but I'm being raised in whiteness, but I look exactly like the African that you insult all the time. Um, and so, and then of course, all the different things that go on. So identity was very complex. And that is also through Mixtape and Memoir. You get to see how it started. And I break it into 4 sections. There's homeroom where you get to meet the cast of characters, right? And then there's miseducation, which is loosely, a nod to the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. But the era of my life that was miseducation is that what am I learning about race? What am I learning about identity? It's your bullying, it's your abuse, it's your trauma, and all of that. And then there's a section on unlearning, which is where I, come of age and I start to be like, well, what is serving me? What's not? And then we culminate with graduation, which doesn't mean I have it all figured out, but it means, I made it to a place of, I've gone through some unlearning and I'm moving a little bit lighter. I'm better off than I started this journey as. And that's what I kind of said in the beginning is like, hey, there was that glimmer of hope, but the end of the story, at least as it sits now, is that I made it out the other side enough to talk about it. And I try to entertain people while I do it. So
Wow. And I love that. And first of all, I feel like I could relate as a 90s girl myself.
mm-hmm.
I loved and I thrived on Lauryn Hill's album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Oh my God.
Yes.
That paved
It
the way.
transcends
Yeah.
like any life transition. Like you listen to it at any given time and it stands the test of time. I have the album cover in my background when I do my online therapy sessions. It's right over my shoulder. So love
Oh,
that album down.
beautiful. Yes, that was such a brilliant album, and I feel like we needed it at that time. And I'll tell you something, as a 90s, I'll say this. I was born in the 80s, but the 90s raised me. So I feel like we could
Yeah.
kind of relate to that. And I am a Latina, proud Latina here. But I'll tell you this, that album was everything to me in middle
Mm-hmm.
school. It was everything. It's like it needed to happen at that right time. And so many people use it and influence it. And I'm so
Mm-hmm.
glad that you're able to relate that and how you use it now, especially
Yeah.
with your own, therapy sessions. And let me
Mm-hmm.
ask you, because this is a topic that not a lot of people discuss, and I want to shine the light on that. And I appreciate your transparency growing up in a mixed race household. And I have a very close friend of mine that also dealt with this. It's like you're either acting too white or you're acting, too black, or not black enough or not white
Mm-hmm.
enough. That must be very hard for a child or for anybody to grow up in a family like that. Did you experience other friends or other individuals in that same loophole where they felt like, wow, I'm mixed race, but I don't know what I should be considered?
Mm. There were definitely other mixed kids in my, upbringing. There were other kids who were being raised by single parents. Um, I think I didn't recognize what was, let's say, abnormal or abusive or neglectful until I started interacting with other people and they would describe what it was like for them. And I recognize differences. But more than that, there was an instinct in me from a young age that was like, this ain't right.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not supposed to feel like I need to stay out of the way or that I'm a, collective, like, nuisance just by existing. Um, and so I saw other kids with parents that were split up, but they seemed to have a better system. Um, uh, and so it felt very isolating, even in my own home, because my half brother, who had the same mother as me, that we were raised together, were very different. And then also there was no attention on the fact that he also had an absentee father, but mine was villainized.
Yeah.
Um, and his was just like, oh, he's not here, but he used to be a good dancer or whatever. So like that was kind of the thing. It was like they had so much to say about mine, and I didn't ask to be here. So it's kind of like figuring that out when you don't have the the maturity or the emotional intelligence, and y'all are supposed to be the ones to teach me that. So what do I do when y'all are messing up, right? So that journey of identity wasn't as smooth as, say, what I hope my child will have, who obviously is also a mixed race black girl. Um, you know, uh, I would hope that her journey is smoother because I did this work, I did this exploration, I did this healing, so that I don't, inflict as much damage upon her from not knowing who I am, first and foremost.
And thank you for that because I feel like you're absolutely right. I think that growing up in the 1990s, when you are considered a mixed race kid, let's just say it how it is, I think society was different. I feel like society is a little bit more different now in our generation. We're talking year 2026, of course, but I think that should I even dare say that it's even more accepting, you know? But I feel like in the 1990s, it's like I think the struggles were definitely more harder for mixed
Hmm.
race kids for sure. I mean, how do you feel about that?
I, looking back, I obviously have stories. I would love to say that it is more accepting. But I'm also, and anyone listening to this, keep in mind I'm 33, going on 34 in June. But in obviously since 2016, something pretty drastic has been going on in the country. Um, and I feel, though I'm only going off of my time span of, say, the 90s through present day, I see a big regression. And by regression, I mean, racists aren't afraid to be racist. Like they used to be down low a little bit more, and now we're out loud and proud, right? So,
Yeah.
um, I I struggle with, because I feel like even though I was going through what I was going through in the 90s, I felt like it was more peaceful then. Now, granted, that's child
Mm,
ignorance, and not knowing what I know now, but I feel less safe being a black person in 2026 than I did in the 90s for sure. Um,
yeah.
and you know, I won't say that I let fear or worry like cripple me, like it has in the past, but I look forward to the fact that, or I look at the fact that I have the responsibility of parenting a daughter who is mixed race, and she is growing up in a world that adults aren't 100% certain about, um, but yeah, that the differences in how people, I guess, viewed, say, mixed race relationships are definitely maybe relaxing in some spaces. But I still live in Virginia. I've lived in Virginia my whole life. And even, my ex, who is my daughter's mother, is a white person and I'm black. So we dealt with uh, some similar things that I saw going on when my mother would date black men in the 90s. So there's similarities and differences. I think it really just depends on the circumstance. But yeah, that's a hard question to answer. Like, I can't uh, I can't say that things are better,
Yeah.
um, because I know more.
That's
But
true. That's true.
I do feel at 33 I'm more equipped to handle things, probably because it was, trained in trauma. But you know I one of my gifts, I think my superpower, is taking what isn't so pretty and not so much revising history, but using what I learned from the unfortunate, and using it as a tool to heal or entertain or inform. And that obviously helps me a lot as a storyteller, but also as a, therapist. So,
And I like that. I like that a
and as
lot.
a parent.
Yeah, yeah. I highly agree with you. I think that when you're kids, you're kind of it's kind of mute, back then.
Hmm.
And this is coming from a person herself that is in a mixed race relationship. My husband is black and I am a, fair skinned Latina. When they see me, they're like, oh, she's a white girl, but I'm not, I promise,
Yeah.
But yes, there's a lot of craziness going on out there in the world today. And it's funny though, and I'll tell you this story, especially when we go to the hood here in Orlando. It's like they kind of like
Hmm.
look at you funny, like, what is this Latina guy or Latino
Hmm.
girl doing with this guy? You know what I mean? So it's sad that the
Hmm.
society is still like that, and so judgmental in that aspect, which is
Yeah.
it's horrible. I definitely want to shift and talk about from your survival
Mm.
to therapist, because today you're not only an author, you're also a licensed therapist, as you mentioned. And I love how you take, basically, as you mentioned, the things that are not so pretty, and you learn and adapt tools to it, give your clients or whomever tools to be able to survive. And I feel like that's helping others navigate through their own mental journeys. I think that's very, very I applaud you for that. I mean, how did your personal experiences just influence your decision to pursue a career, in therapy and helping others lead or heal?
Yeah. I joke that I had 22 years of mental health training before I ever set foot in grad school. Because hello.
Yeah, what you
Um,
went through.
yeah. But also that lived experience, but my own journey of going to therapy, like when I was in undergrad, I, kind of hit a wall and was diagnosed with uh panic disorder. I was having like 10 panic attacks a day. And it was right a little bit after I got out of the abusive home that I grew up in. So it's kind of like, okay, I'm out in the world, I'm making something of myself, but I'm ill prepared for what is left. And I went to therapy and found some tools and stability. And then in that process, I decided, you know what, I can do this. Because I was going to be an elementary school teacher. And then I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. And then I went to grad school and became a therapist. Now, it wasn't a linear journey, but um, to me, I was like, well, if this works for me, I think I am equipped to help other people. And also, helping other people is healing to me because, I end my therapy sessions telling my clients, and this isn't just like a pithy thing I say, but I mean it. I tell them, be kind to yourself, and I'll do the same.
Mm,
um, because being kind to yourself it sounds simple, but it's the most difficult and ongoing work a person can do. And so by interacting with other people's stories, there's a transcendence here between therapist and storyteller and vice versa. Um, is that if I'm going to tell someone or offer someone to do something, I have to be willing to or have done that myself. Um, and so um, it ends up being a full circle in a way where I needed a person like me way sooner than I found one. Um, but now I get to see people at different stages of their journey and they have the support in some way. Sometimes they don't, but I get to be part of that support. Or I get to work with teenagers who, may be a lot like what I was like or going through similar circumstances, but they do have the support of a therapist, or they can learn some different tools to, and as a person living in this world today, I also get hope from that. I can have hope even when, say, the politics are doing what they're doing, or we're at war, or whatever. I can get glimpses of hope in seeing that other people are trying or making progress or whatever, in addition to feeling hopeful, seeing my daughter laugh over something silly, or writing a story or a poem or whatever, or reading a good book or listening to good music. Like, there are sources of hope outside of my job, but um stories, I'm surrounded by stories, and we're all walking stories. So becoming a therapist is it I don't want to sound cheesy and be like it doesn't feel like work, because it's definitely work. But same thing with telling stories. It comes from a place of, it's very locked in with my identity, and because I know my identity, I'm really good at it. And so it feels in alignment with who I am. And who I am, I don't thank the people who traumatized and neglected me for making me who I am, because I did that. But it is what was intended to break me down ended up being my superpower, which is pretty cool.
That's
So
amazing. Do you feel like you found your purpose in life?
my purpose is evolving. I don't think that I think humans are we're too dynamic to have a single purpose. Unfortunately, that is where a lot of the distress in the world comes from, is when someone thinks that a person serves a certain purpose. Reference capitalism, racism, fascism, political, polarization, whatever you want to call it. When someone thinks everyone should be a certain way or serve a certain purpose, we mess that up. My purpose is so dynamic, but on a given day, I mean, I've been a father, a single father. I've been a therapist. I am a runner. I am a reader. I am a writer. I am a therapist. I am a bill payer. I am
Yeah.
a Lord, my God, today. But I am, a boyfriend. I am, a family member. I am a lot of different things. My purpose might be going on this run. My purpose might be speaking to you on this podcast. My purpose might be um, cooking a meal. Um, but my purpose can also be doing the work of being a therapist, showing up for people, even when I'm not okay. My purpose can be preparing for a trip. So my purpose has some constants, but I will not allow it to just be one thing. I am not just a therapist or a storyteller. I joke that my alter ego is a comedian, a DJ, a part-time assassin, and a librarian. So do what you may
I
with
love
that.
that.
So
I love that.
I love that also, even though I didn't know my identity fully as a child, I like that even if I don't have it all figured out now, because never trust a person who says they have it all figured out, because we never will. We can keep striving towards evolution. But even I love, like, and understand who I am now. And I think is that is ultimately a purpose, to love, like, and understand yourself, to have the ability to love, like, and understand others, and to have enough discernment and vulnerability to be loved, liked, and understood by others, and knowing when someone is in alignment and when they're not. Hence the reason why I have a tell-all memoir in my early 30s, because I didn't do it right, and people didn't do it right, but it was entertaining, and I had something to share with others in the process. So,
And thank you for that and giving us the perspective of how many different purposes you could have in life. It's not just one. We're always forever evolving. And I love that. And I'm gonna go ahead and take that advice for myself because I just felt it in my spirit, like, hey, we're made up of many other things. We're definitely evolving. I definitely want to transition and talk about, the book. I mean, there's at one point you do travel to Ghana and you
mhm.
search your actual roots to connect with your father, his heritage and his background. I mean, that kind of journey can be incredibly powerful and emotional at the same time, I feel like. So let me ask you, with that experience alone, what did it mean to you personally? And how did it shift your identity and belonging?
Yeah. So my father is from Sierra Leone, but I chose to go to Ghana. I went to Ghana twice before I went to Sierra Leone for the first time. So I wanted, because I don't have a relationship with my father, I wanted to connect with the continent of Africa, more specifically West Africa. And I chose Ghana as my chosen connection to the continent.
That's beautiful.
And I've been to Kumasi, which is the second largest city in Ghana, and of course Accra is the biggest one. But in Kumasi, there's a lot of like the Adinkra symbols and things like that, and the message of Sankofa, which is to go back and get it. And I found that in my journey of exploring it, kind of not knowing what I was going to get when I got there, and that is what I've been really focusing on, is like going back and getting it, which is why I was there. But then exploring freedom and exploring, you can be connected to a place and not even know who specifically you're connected to. There was something about Ghana that was like welcome home. They say Akwaba, welcome. And I felt welcomed even though I felt like an outsider in the United States most of my life.
Wow.
And feeling a sense of home, and feeling that in Ghana twice and being all up and through that country. And then this past December, I got separated in July. I actually took my daughter for the first time with me to West Africa. Um, and we first traveled to Sierra Leone. So I closed the loop for myself in going to the place, Freetown, Sierra Leone, that my father immigrated from, but also took my child there. So while my father didn't show me where my roots were, my daughter won't have to be like, where do I come from? I have this book which tells you exactly where I come from, and the dedication is to my daughter. But also, from the beginning of your life, Africa, Sierra Leone, and then after Sierra Leone, we went back to Ghana. So um, she will have a different experience with her blackness and her connection to Africa than I did. And it to answer your question, yes, lots of emotions. I'm also working on other books, and my second memoir is going to be written in a different way, but it will focus a little bit more about my travels to Africa and how things are continuing to progress with that. So, yes, that was a big, huge part of that graduation section of, you know, learning and continuing to evolve and healing from what was fragmented or not shown to me.
And thank you so much for sharing that. And I love how you are incorporating all these culture, like traveling and all the stuff that you're doing and visiting Ghana with your daughter. I think that's so special. I just love that because I'm a mom myself, and that's just so meaningful. I love how you are incorporating her on your travels. That's so beautiful to me. I think
Mm,
that's so nice. So your memoir ultimately feels like overall just a beautiful story. I mean, you're reclaiming your voice, and I love how you are basically the narrative of your own life. I mean, you've
mhm,
traveled, you're helping others. For those listeners that are listening right now, I mean, people that might be carrying pain from the past, I mean, what
mhm.
does it actually look like to start rewriting that soundtrack on your own about your life? What would you say
Yeah.
to them?
I would tell someone listening who is contemplating that, um, one thing I learned from all of these like scenes and experiences that I had growing up in order to write this book, I would tell any person listening to this to remember that you're worthy of reciprocity. And the world does not always give you reciprocity, but you're worthy of it. You don't have to earn it. And yeah, no one has to give it to you, but you're worthy of aligning yourself with spaces that give you reciprocity, because we're wired as humans for connection. And a lot can go wrong when we're not given reciprocity, or we're starved of connection, or if we're mishandled when we make connections. So if you're listening to this and you're struggling, know that you're worthy of reciprocity. Reciprocity is into what I was talking about before of love, liking, and understanding yourself, love, liking, and understanding others, and and receiving love, like, and understanding. Not everybody um, is capable of serving those different functions, but we're worthy of it. So knowing that you're worthy of that reciprocity can help you know where to start or where to make some changes. And I'm in a season of my life right now, having written this book, that I have to practice what I preach. So as I literally was finishing final edits on the book to send to the publisher, I was blindsided with the separation.
Wow.
And it was like, oh shit, I need my own story. I need my own series of unreciprocated relationships to really help me through the fact that, wow, the one relationship I thought was solid is not what I thought it was. And I still have stories to um, experience and unpack and things like that. But I also have learned some things along the way where I'm not just doing this blindly. So I would encourage anybody to just remember you're worthy of reciprocity. And
I
on this
love
other
that.
side of this, like in dating, I was unapologetic about the need for
Mhm.
reciprocity. I wasn't dealing with imbalance. So um, and that's a sign of growth, I think, for sure.
Absolutely. I think that it definitely is. And thank you for that. And that's always going to stay in my mind now. We are worthy of reciprocity. Just so important and bold. Before we've transitioned here to our closure, and then we can let our listeners know where they can find you, I want to do
Hmm.
something fun. I want to do
Okay.
some quick rapid fire questions, and I
Okay.
want you to tell us the first thing that comes to mind. I just started doing these on the show, and I just got some really good feedback. I think they're fun. So there's 5 questions, and the first one is a book that changed your life. What is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Burn Down Master's House by Clay Kane.
Why is that?
I'm currently reading it for the third time. It just came out in February. It is phenomenal.
Mm,
Um, I think I have a problem because I don't typically read a book back to back this many times that close together, but it's so good. And it is very much a balm for what it feels like to be a Black person in the United States in the year 2026.
mm. Number 2, a song that instantly takes you back to your childhood.
Oh, that's a hard one. Give me a second. Give me a second.
I know there's so many good ones, right? Especially in the 90s. Oh my god.
Mhm. Um,
Whatever comes to your heart.
No Scrubs by TLC.
Ooh, we hear that all the time. Why? Why Scrubs?
You have to read Mixtape and Memoir to
Ah,
hear the traumatic association I have with it, but I've reclaimed it because Left Eye's verse is amazing. And
it
yes,
is.
I can spit it effortlessly, so don't play with me.
Ooh, oh my god, I love that. Number 3, a word that describes your healing journey. What would that be for our listeners?
Freedom.
I like that. Number 4, a piece of advice you would give to your younger self.
When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time.
Mm, I like that. I really do. And the last one thing you deeply, wholeheartedly believe that you hope your readers feel after finishing your book.
I hope they feel loved, liked, and understood, and that they've just spent some time with a friend who has let them in, but has also taken care of them while they spend that time.
Mm, that's very nice. Thank you for participating with those. I love to have those on the show now. I think they're kind of fun. It makes you kind of think, right? I just
Hmm.
like that. So before we close, I want our listeners to know where they could, of course, pick up a copy of your beautiful and wonderful memoir. Follow your journey. You said that you are a therapist. You also mentioned you have more stories to be told and
Hmm.
you're going to continuing to travel. Where can our listeners find you? Follow your journey. Just stay connected with you.
Yes. So you can find the book, of course, wherever books are sold online, but my website to find all of the links in the different formats of the book is johnzelle.co, which is my first name, JOHN like Nancy, Z like zebra, ELLE.co. And so that's my website. You can find the links to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Bookshop. There's a link on there for a signed copy if you want that. I also recorded the audiobook, so there's links to if you want to get the audiobook. It's all on my johnzelle.co website. as well as you can read, more about the book. You can see like editorial reviews, some other interviews I've done about the book and things like that. As far as where people can keep up with me more about my life and stuff, I am on Instagram at Johnzelle _. So the same spelling, JOHNZELLE _. And I'm very bookish. I read over 100 books a year, mostly by Black
Oh, I love that.
storytellers. So I like to, for fun, review books. And so you'll see what I'm reading. You'll see cute pictures of my daughter. And obviously when I travel and things like that too. And of course I talk about my own storytelling there. So that's a great place to keep up with me. And as far as other books, I'm currently got 3 that I'm working on. I'm working on a children's book. I'm working on a romance / possibly smutty novel situation about being
Oh,
bisexual, and then I'm working on a second memoir that will be in either completely or in part in verse. So I'm experimenting with poetry. So stay tuned for what I'm cooking up next. But in the meantime, go get Mixtape and Memoir.
oh, I love this. You are a man who's just getting started. You have such a long way to go. The party's not just getting the beginning. I mean, you got so much
I
more
did not
ahead of
peak in
you.
high school. I'm still out here getting cuter.
I love it. And I have to say, I love the way you spell your name. That's so awesome. Like with the Z. I love that. I just have to
Yeah.
say that. It's very unique and it just stays in your soul.
Thank
Johnzelle,
you.
I just want to thank you so much for sharing your story, your heart, being transparent, real, which is most important. And your, of course, this wonderful memoir you have out there, your book, Mixtape, a memoir. It's just so many things to look forward. I just want to thank you again for sharing conversations with Iris to tell your story and sharing this space with our audience member. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, everyone, for listening. I
Of
appreciate it.
course, of course. To everyone listening today, thank you again for downloading, sharing, and supporting conversations with Iris because conversations like this matter. And remember, just like John Zell mentioned, we are worthy of reciprocity. So remember that. Keep that whole dear and near dear to your heart. Con mucho amor, this has been Conversations with Iris. And remember, your story matters. Take care. Bye bye.